Hi guys, and welcome to Freckle Finance. Today I'm going to talk to you about how to budget if you live off minimum wage. Minimum wage in Ontario is $11.25 per hour. So if you work the average work week, which is 37.5 hours based on a 40-hour work week with 5 30-minute breaks, you will make a total of $1,686.50 gross. Now that's based off 2 bi-weekly paychecks. That obviously isn't a lot of money for someone to live off, so I'm going to show you how you can budget your money so that you're not going into debt, and also so you have a little bit of money to save every month. First, I want to point out that this budget is based off one individual making minimum wage. If you have 2 individuals making minimum wage, this is a different budget you're working with. If you have a dependent, such as a child, you will be getting tax benefits. So this is not based off this. This is one person working on minimum wage. As well, I myself lived off minimum wage for several years while I was in university, so I know how hard it is, but I know that it's possible to not go into debt on minimum wage. In order to figure out what you can spend in each category, you're going to need to figure out how much that $1,686.50 works out to be and your net income. In the calculator I use that I will link below, it comes out to $1,428 per month. And you thought the $16,000 was not very much. According to the recommended budget, which I've done in a previous video, you should be spending a maximum of $500 a month on rent, $214 on transportation, $375 on your life, which includes things like groceries, clothes, and everything else, and $357 on your savings and debt. So as you can tell, it's going to be really hard to follow the recommended budget. Maybe you can, depending on your life circumstances, but for a lot of people working minimum wage, they're going to be spending a lot more in one area, and they're going to have to probably completely cut out or diminish a lot of other areas. Because you only have $500 a month that you're supposed to use towards rent, you'll probably be renting a room unless you live in a really inexpensive or small town where you can rent your own apartment within that price range. In a large city like Toronto or Vancouver, you're probably not even going to be able to rent a room on $500 a month. But I do know that you can rent rooms for $800 a month, and so you'll have to take the money from other areas in your budget. If you have the option to continue living with your parents or to move back in with your parents or somebody else like a family member that will allow you to live in their place for a lot cheaper than what it is to rent a room, then I recommend that you do so, as long as you're not putting your mental health and physical health in danger. I'm going to give you an example of what your budget might look like if you live in a large city and you don't have family or someone that you can live with cheaply. Like I said previously, your rent will probably be around $800 a month. Your transportation, $120. It really depends on if you live close to your work or not. If you can get away with not having to use public transit at all or get a bike, that's great. Eliminate that area if you can. But if you can't, you may have to get a pass, or it may actually just be cheaper to buy tokens every month or every day and just pay those, because actually here, that's actually cheaper if you only work 5 days a week. So your life will be about $400 a month, and like I said before, that's clothing, anything you need for your house, your groceries, all of that. Now I've made that a little bit higher than the recommended amount in the budget because bigger cities cost more for your groceries. And the last category of savings is $110, and if you have debt, $110. If you have more debt than $110 can get you, then you're going to have to take that somewhere else from your budget because you need to pay off that debt. It's very unsustainable to have debt when you're making minimum wage. So as I said earlier, I lived on minimum wage for several years while I was in university. I mean, I did have some help paying for my tuition, but all my life expenses I had to pay for by myself. I lived in a room. It was actually quite a large room, but it was not a very good house or anything like that. It was really run down. It wasn't well maintained. I paid $485 a month. Now this wasn't in a large city, but this was in a university city, so prices for rent can be a little more expensive because of that. But this place included my heat, hydro, all the utilities. It included home phone, internet, cable, all that stuff. I had 8 roommates, depending on the time of the year, because it was a 9-bedroom house. I mean, it wasn't my most favorite place to live, but it got me through. It got me through without obtaining any debt other than a little bit in student loans. And this is what you have to do. When you work minimum wage, you have to make sacrifices. You shouldn't be going into debt no matter what your income is, but you especially shouldn't be if you're on minimum wage. You can't afford to. You shouldn't have any debt. You do not have space in your budget to be paying off debt unless you've already got it. Then you need to get rid of it. However, if you're taking on some debts to get student loans because you just can't get through otherwise in order to get your education, that might be fine. Now, there are some cases when you probably shouldn't be getting that degree, or that education's not worth it compared to how much debt and how much income you're going to be making. But if it's going to significantly increase your income, then it may be worth it to take out some student loans to get your education. Unless you live with your parents, you definitely shouldn't be owning a car. And even if you live with your parents, you probably still shouldn't be owning a car anyways. Now, maybe you got a really good deal and your car costs you almost nothing a month. It's really going to be your choice if you live with your parents, but it's still going to take up a huge percentage of the little precious bit of money that you're going to be getting. When it comes to your groceries, you should be looking at sales, food planning. I'll probably do a video in the future on exactly what I mean by food planning and how that can save you money. And really, you shouldn't be buying any fancy things or things that aren't like totally necessary. I mean, you can maybe treat yourself every now and then, but you really don't have it in your budget to go buying a bunch of frozen pre-made meals that are quick or whatever. You just really need to watch your grocery bill, especially if you live in a large city where groceries can be a lot more expensive. For clothes and maybe some other types of household items, I would recommend shopping at a thrift shop. Don't be embarrassed. People of all sorts of incomes shop at thrift shops. No matter how much money I'm going to make, I'm probably still going to love shopping at thrift shops. It saves you a lot of money. You can get really good quality clothes that will probably last you longer than some of the more cheap clothes that you can buy at some stores that are inexpensive. But focus on just spending as little money as you can, because you're not making that much and you need to make the budget work. You need to make sure that you're saving, especially since a lot of minimum wage jobs don't guarantee you any hours, and you need to make sure that you have some backup savings for those months that you get paid less. You will find that if you put together a budget and live within your means, you really can live off minimum wage without going into any debt. Your life will likely not have as many frills or vacations or fancy things that your friends and family of higher income have, but you shouldn't consider minimum wage something that you plan to stay in. It should be something that you have as a temporary means until you can obtain a higher paying job, whether it's education or you just go into a field that makes more money. Do not focus on living off minimum wage for life. It'll probably stress you out and you probably won't be able to stay in budget because it might make you very sad. So focus on meeting your demands now, meeting your budget for minimum wage now, and also focus on trying to obtain a higher paying job so that you can enjoy some of the finer things in life later on, if you so choose. If you find these videos interesting and informative and you want to know more, please click subscribe, as I will be uploading videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Have a good day. Bye.